What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.
Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
You're listening to 100 Words or Less with Ray Harkins. Hello one, hello all. Welcome to a podcast in which we obsess over the details in punk, hardcore, indie rock, emo, metal, whatever genre you're talking about. As long as it's of the DIY variety, that is what we care about. We have discussions with people who are involved with that, who create it, who document it, and just frankly care deeply about it. Today is a great discussion with an old friend. His name is Rocky Votolato. He plays in a band now called Suzzallo. Just released their brand new record called The Quiet Year, which is exceptional. And if you are not familiar with Rocky Votolato, he's been doing his own solo stuff for the better part of, 10, 15 years. He's been doing it for a long time. I got introduced to him via his original band, which was called Waxwing. And they put out 3 incredible LPs and some splits. But dare I say, an all-timer for me. Waxwing is an incredibly influential and important band to me, and I know many others. And so, yeah, Rocky's just a great dude. And I had a discussion with him, I want to say it was like 8-9 years ago. I was up in Seattle, actually, had him over to my hotel room. We did a podcast, and it was great. But a lot has changed in Rocky's life since then, and to varying degrees. One, he's continued to be prolific in regards to the music that he's been putting out, but then he also suffered a horrible, horrible, tragic loss of his child 1.5 or 2 years ago. And this record is a direct reflection on that. And Suzzallo is a brand new band with some of his old members in Waxwing and other friends that are in the Seattle area, from Ben Gibbard and just, a lot of people who exist in that independent music scene up there. Anyways, this is a long preface for me saying that Rocky is on the show today talking about his loss, his ability to be able to pull himself through it, through music. And it was an incredible conversation because Rocky not only is thoughtful, but he is a positive person. And to watch from the side, as I did and many others did in regards to what he went through, it's really heartening to see that people can get over get over it. I mean, you're never past this, but be able to continue on in their lives, but then celebrate everything that they were able to experience with their, child, significant other, what have you, in regards to the tragedy that we experience throughout our lives. So check out the new Suzzallo record. It's incredible. And I feel thankful that I was able to have Rocky on the show. You, as the listener, I appreciate you downloading this podcast. But if you want to support this show in a very real way, you can go leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or simply leave a rating on Spotify. You can also follow along on YouTube. I post these episodes on there, and I know every podcast has a pivot to video strategy. I am not going to do video for this. So the stuff that I post on YouTube is a static image, but people enjoy listening to the podcast on there, and I will deliver that. We also need to talk about the weekly recommendations. So these are, I will list a link in the show notes where you can pop in to a Spotify playlist and you'll be able to listen to all the previous recommendations. I just want people to listen to music, new music, old music, everything in between. And hopefully this playlist is able to kind of guide you in certain directions. And today, I cannot recommend the new Propagandhi record more. It's called At Peace. It's their first new record in like 8 years, and it's exceptional. For those of you that only were raised on like the 2 first Propagandhi records, I realize this record may be challenging for you, but it is a staggering piece of work. We're talking like 13, 14 songs. It's there's a lot thrown at you, but if you sit there, take the time, listen to it, and soak in the lyrics as well, and understand how far this band has come in regards to just kind of the, sophomoric, juvenile expressions of the sentiments of living in a capitalist society. And listening to it now is just like, my gosh, it's incredible to watch the band's evolution. And they're one of my favorite bands of all time. So I will always check out everything they have going on. And I've been able to collect almost all the members of Propagandhi, which is it's a cool feather in my cap. So anyways, you have to check out the new Propagandhi record, and it is tossed in that playlist. Link in the show notes. Listen to it, listen to all the other things that are in there, and everybody will win. So let's talk to Rocky right now. They self-released their Suzzallo record, but then also a huge shout out to 30-something Records. They released some vinyl copies. You can easily Google it and find the record label to get some limited edition vinyl colors. They also, if I'm not mistaken, they put out tapes and CDs, and it's a lot of cool things going on. So hopefully Suzzallo will start to be able to get out there a little bit more, play some gigs, because they're definitely playing some record release shows coming up in the Pacific Northwest, if I'm not mistaken, on like May 12th and 13th. So if you're in that area, definitely check it out. I will include a link in the show notes where you are able to follow along with the band on Instagram. So let's talk to Rocky right now. I usually, when I have people back for the second time, usually it's, over a many year period where it's like, oh, there's obviously a substantial body of work that has been, published since we last spoke, or a monumental life change of like, oh, I don't play in bands anymore, but I do this other thing. For you, what compelled me to not only revisit you because I enjoy your music, but clearly this record and the new band is something that was born out of necessity in many respects, in ways that, it helped you get through the trauma of losing your child tragically. The place that I'll start is the idea of music pulling people through is, a very common experience for people who have been heavily influenced by music. Did you, I guess, try on any other forms of, whether it was like, hey, I'm going to, draw or paint or like do any of these other artistic expressions to try to, help you cope with something that, everybody goes through, but not everybody goes through in a way that you did?
Yeah, totally. No, great question. I didn't really, I think, when the tragedy happened, it was such a just like life altering, kind of shattering experience. I wasn't really capable of, trying out any new hobbies or like ways to, create a channel of expression. So I'm actually really grateful that I already had music there, that was something I could turn to in that. And even with that being the case, like, I needed a new channel to express what I was going through, because the ways in which I had related to music didn't make any sense to me in that moment, So
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just like what you said right there where, yeah, I didn't really have time to like take up a new hobby per se. Cause like it's,
right.
yeah, it's true. I mean, it is one of those things where, when left to, dire circumstances, it's not like you're going to be like, you know what, like, I'm not going to lean into music. I'm just going to take up golf or whatever.
Right. That being said, though, I do think like, having any kind of creative practice, if people are going through something really difficult, like no matter what it is, I feel like it's good. It's good to be creative and to express yourself through some artistic outlet, right? Like whether it's painting or drawing or sculpting or whatever it is you do that, helps you kind of get into a place where you can express how you're feeling. Like I think it's all good, but for me, it was definitely music, and I wasn't really capable of working on anything for a good 6 months, after the tragedy. I just, I was in a pretty dark place and just grieving really heavily. So yeah, when I started to write music, I knew I wanted to find something that could kind of express what I was going through. And it was really like the most distorted guitar sounds I could find. That's what I kept going to. I was like, I had this 78 SG, and I started playing all kinds of different amps. And I remember the day I found the sound that became, Suzzallo, which really it's that 78 SG through a Mesa Badlander and a triangle Big Muff fuzz pedal. when I tried this combination, I was like, oh my God, that is it. And I had been searching, for quite a while before I found the sound. But when I heard it, I knew, okay, that's it. Like I've got something here, and this feels totally new.
Right. I love that feeling, especially, when like you and I have come from the punk and hardcore scene, like it's you revert back to the things that you kind of know either the best or, if it's like an old blanket or, a comfortable pair of shoes. It's just like, all right, well, I'm going to try this because this is what I've known and I haven't been loud in a while, but I know how to do that. I think like, here, try this.
Absolutely. That's well said. Cause that's pretty much what my experience was. It was almost like weirdly like waking up from a dream or something. And I felt like it shattered my identity. But then when I started to figure out what I did identify with, it was like myself as like in my early 20s, like all the music that I listened to and was into, and, that was more aggressive and heavier and louder, like that all made sense to me again. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I need right now, to express what I'm going through. And I was also, back to your earlier question, one of the other things I did to kind of get through that was I was doing scream therapy, and this kind of informed the vocal approach for Suzzallo too. But I would just like scream into a pillow as many times as I could, as hard and loud as I could scream. And it just, just a way to get out the pain and what I was going through with that experience. And that became something I was doing regularly to cope with the situation. And it definitely kind of changed my voice, and I feel like it unlocked a new gear in terms of where I knew I could scream, And so that I started capturing those sounds in the studio too. And like, but that was always a part of what was coming together for the sound of this band too. And it's not like it's all over the record or happening that often, but it was a part of the process of this being born.
Uh-huh. And I appreciate you saying that, just as far as the, way that you were applying these things that you were experiencing in life versus, bringing it into your art. I mean, obviously life informs art, but I think that anybody that obviously has followed your trajectory and listened to Waxwing and then listens to Suzzallo, like there are people that may have hated Waxwing that can listen to this and be like, oh, hey, like, this is good. This is different. Like, I understand, and honestly, there may be people that listen to this, new band are just like, oh, dude, he doesn't sound like he's 20 and singing for, for Mad Men only or whatever. But
right. It's definitely informed by all of I think the years I spent just focused on songcraft, and all the solo records in general. Like, I feel like this, so it comes through that filter, right? Like, you can hear that it's a different artist than I was when I was young and in those formative years of just trying to be in punk bands, and whatever that was that came out as Waxwing. But yeah, that's one thing I love about this project, because I feel like it takes kind of the skills that I developed as a songwriter and, that more melodic approach and everything, and puts it into like just a heavier sound and approach that it kind of combines the two. And yeah, and I'm happy with it. I'm really excited for the record to come out. I can't wait.
Right. On that same notion, the idea of, reconnecting with an old bandmate and everybody that you not only played with on the record, but then, producers, other collaborators, your friend Ben Gibbard, like it seems like you surrounded yourself with people who you have longstanding relationships with. And I imagine because of that, it was easier to come to a conclusion with this band, as opposed to maybe if it was just, people who you sort of knew like through the music scene, but weren't like intimately involved with. I'm guessing that was a function and not like a happy accident.
Yeah, that was totally built into my idea of what this would be, and what Suzzallo is. And really that grew organically out of, connections with those people and friendships, long-standing friendships, So especially playing with Rudy on the drums, who was in Waxwing, like he and Steve were there for me, personally through that experience, just as friends, and so it started from there, and then it just made sense and felt very comfortable to work with them. And it was just total dream come true working with those guys and also with Ben Gibbard. And they all just added so much to the record. And I couldn't be happier with all of their contributions and how it shaped the sound. Because like you said, it would have been really different had I just had hired guns, and just kind of like maybe like more how I was approaching some of the solo records, where it was very much just like a one-time thing. And but yeah, this felt really good. It felt like family, kind of, and I needed that. I was in a very different kind of super vulnerable space where I needed a safe space. I needed people I could trust and who would create that place for me to be able to work on all this. And John Goodmanson did a really great job with that too. Like, I'm forever grateful to him for the space that he created for me to make the record. He was super patient, super flexible, and is just the best at what he does. I mean, that dude has made so many legendary albums, and I think he's made like close to 50 records in Robert Lang alone, which is the studio where we recorded it. And so he's the best at making like 90s rock sounding records, which is exactly what I was trying to do.
Sure. Yeah. Go to the source, guys. Let's do that.
Right. Yeah.
Something that I'm sure as you were navigating, the creation of this and as the songs were kind of coming out, did you have to, I guess, be mindful of the wallowing in yourself? Like, because, I mean, no matter what anybody goes through, if they're trying to express themselves, it's very easy to exercise that muscle because it's not only universal, but it's also where a lot of art is created from. But I know that the tones of this record, and then lyrically, you, of course, are touching on the fact that, yes, this record was born out of, my child not being on this planet anymore, but I don't want to completely just, drown in the sorrow. How did you, I guess, like navigate that line? Because I'm sure it was difficult to figure out how it was that you were going to, express yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like so much of this, like you said earlier, is it came out of necessity and survival, so I don't think there was a lot of like conscious thought about that as I was going through it. But I am grateful because I feel like, my approach to art and making music has always been to kind of, try to incorporate some light and some hope into the art, even if it's dealing with really heavy subjects. And I think in this case, when you lose a child, it's like that grief is something you're always going to carry with you the rest of your life. You get stronger and better at carrying it. But, I think about it a lot. It's like just because somebody carries it well doesn't mean it's not heavy or painful, and this record though is really, it's as much about resilience as it is about tragedy and grief. It's kind of like I wanted to incorporate that into it, so it's because life keeps going, and we have to continue to show up for those around us. And I wanted to try to embody that and have that be part of the legacy that Keenan left to me, through this experience. So that's really what Suzzallo is about. And yeah, it's born out of extreme tragedy and darkness, but I think there's a lot of light in it too. And this is something that this whole project has taught me, and that I want to share with people really is like, if you've been through deep grief and trauma and loss, like art can help. That's kind of the message here for me. It's like, I'm just so grateful for the way creating art has helped me process my grief and heal, through that experience. And I just really hope the songs, can now help bring some catharsis and comfort to others as well.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, and plus, like that idea that the moment that you put art in the world, it's not yours anymore. And so even if you had the intended message in your head of like, okay, this is how I would like it to be perceived, like it's not yours anymore. I'm sorry.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And interestingly, with this, there was like none of that going on. There was like really, there was no intention, or there was no like trying to make it anything. It was happening. I wrote all the songs mostly in 2-week periods where I just lived in my rehearsal space. And like, I was, a lot of the time throughout the day on the floor crying, or that wasn't unusual. For the first 6 months after Keenan died, that's pretty much all I did was like, I couldn't get off the ground. It was so devastating and such a massive hit to my life with my family that, I associated it kind of like it felt like a traumatic brain injury.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't follow conversations. I started to be able to more like about the 6-month mark, but I couldn't really keep up with what people were saying around me. It was like I was in some totally altered state. And so I'm really grateful that passed. And I've read more about grief and the brain now, and I understand that is your body's way of protecting you from the pain of that loss, so it's difficult to even, talk about it or think about it sometimes, but I am grateful for my community that was around me, and that includes all the people through music and my fan base and everybody who helped to carry me through that experience, friends and family, Rudy and Steve are a big part of that. And then there was just a slow recovery through making art. I kind of made sense of this experience and was able to, just find a reason to go on living essentially. So I mean, it's so heavy, but that's where Suzzallo came from,
Let's talk about our friends at rockabilia.com, because they want to give you 10% off your entire order by using the promo code 100 words or less. And what does rockabilia.com do? They offer the best officially licensed merch from hardcore bands, from punk bands, from metal bands, from mainstream rock bands. I promise you, like they actually, sounds like a joke, but it is not. They just released recently a collaboration with the awesome band Ghost. They released a sex toy from them. limited to like 200 pieces or something. I just saw it on social media and I was like, just chef's kiss. Love what they do. But Rockabilia is located in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They ship worldwide. They ship it to everybody in the United States, obviously, because that would be weird if they didn't. But they have such a great catalog of amazing things that you can pick up all from one spot. And it is independently owned and operated. And, we got punk and hardcore kids working there. I love supporting all of those things. So go to rockabilia.com, use the promo code 100 words or less for 10% off your entire order, and tell them we sent you. So there, go shop for merch.
Are you feeling stuck in your career or lacking employment at the moment? Experiencing symptoms of job dissatisfaction? You might be suffering from a common condition known as career stagnation. But don't worry, there's a solution. Monster.com. Monster.com offers a comprehensive suite of career-boosting tools designed just for you. Our free resume review and AI interview prep tool will help you stand out from the crowd. Need more guidance? Dive into our career advice articles for expert tips and insights. And don't forget to check out our salary tools to ensure you're getting paid what you're worth. Side effects may include a new job, increased confidence, and a brighter future. Consult Monster.com today and take the first step towards your new career. Ready for your next job opportunity? Visit Monster.com now.
Because you have had experience with your solo stuff, not only putting it out yourself, but utilizing Kickstarter, and you obviously did that for this new band as well. Usually, and I'm sure you've witnessed this as well, and maybe you've thought about this as you're, shipping like, 200 t-shirts out, being like, what am I doing? Jeez Louise, man, this is so much work. Sometimes people do a Kickstarter and then they never do it again because they're just like, man, I can't even wrap my head around this.
Yes, the overwhelming.
Right. But you've done it, and in my eyes, like, you've obviously been successful, not only bringing the projects to life, but then, summarily not, burning everybody and being like, oh man, I'm never supporting Rocky. It's like, right, it took 7 years to get this shirt to me or whatever.
That can happen to people, right? Like, we've seen those stories play out.
Totally.
No, I'm glad that I'm able to keep doing it. It's definitely a challenge. I guess this is the Suzzallo one. I've kind of lost count. This is either the third or fourth Kickstarter I've done, but yeah, it's challenging. I have compassion for the people out there who've tried it and gone through it, and like you said, just got completely burned or burned out by it, because it is really a big, heavy lift, and it's super challenging to take all that on. It's got like a longer rhythm, right? Like you have all these kind of ambitious ideas, and then people support you for it, and then you have to deliver, and it takes sometimes up to a year to get it all done. And so yeah, it's definitely stressful. And I'm feeling it on this one right now, because I just, I found out recently, or just a few days ago, that the records are delayed, and so now everything's still in production and going to be delivered. I would never be one of those people who drops the ball and just doesn't deliver. I can't even understand how people live.
Right.
Like, how could you sleep at night? Like, you took all this money to do something and then you didn't do everything in your power to get it done. Like, that just completely goes against the grain of who I am as a human being, Ray?
For sure.
So I definitely, I guess it's a punk rock ethos, or, just growing up the way I did, but like, my word means a lot to me, and I do everything I can to honor my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I fucking do it. And that's just kind of who I am and part of my character. So, so people can count on me, and I feel like I've proven that over and over through challenges of other Kickstarters. And it might take longer than we expect, and there's always other obstacles you don't anticipate along the way, but you just have to kind of keep pushing through it. And that's kind of back to the point of the record and everything I'm doing with Suzzallo, is like, even when you have these terrible experiences in life, you still have to show up, you still have to find a way to keep going, because the people around you need you, and that's kind of why I do it. And I know that when we lose people, that the last thing they would ever want is for for us to give up or, not keep going on with our trying to fulfill our dreams in life because of this experience. So it's part of that legacy that you're honoring to that person if you can just do your best and keep showing up. And I mean, I always appreciate people's patience with these kind of projects and Kickstarters and stuff because it never goes quite how you would plan, or how you planned it to. But I've also found people are usually pretty understanding and patient, and they get it. It's super difficult when we're making like a really kind of ambitious special package for this album. It's like we tried to do a die cut for the cover that didn't end up working out for the vinyl, but the CDs actually has a die cut, and you pull out the inner sleeve, and it reveals the shape of this dragon. And it's just cool. It's like really cool packaging. But it caused problems at the plant, they'd never done it before, and we were trying something new, and it kept getting stuck in the machine. So, so the covers kind of delayed things, and then we moved to like a debossing a technique instead, where it's kind of like embossing, but it's reversed. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So instead of raised, it's like lowered, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's lowered into the cover in the shape of a dragon. And I think it's going to look great, but we had to when you're making like thousands of records and you've got everything queued up, it's a massive undertaking. It's a complex project, and there's 9 different color variants too. So it's like there's a lot going on with this project, and so the plant is working hard to get it done, and of course, it's difficult and they're delayed, but I think at most it'll be like another month delay. So we'll see. I mean, I'm in communication with them, but I think as long as you don't push people off for like a year past whatever your expectations were, people are generally understanding, and they get that, hey, we're making art here and this stuff can be difficult, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that's always impressed me about the way that you've not only handled yourself, but just like the business of being the independent musician that you are, is that and this kind of goes to you as a person, like you're very graceful in the way that you approach all of your, dealings, whether it's like playing a person's living room or whether it's, dealing with a person who's mad that there's a vinyl delay. Is that, is that just kind of like, I guess, who you are, so to speak? Like, is that your, default mechanism, or has that just been something that you have, I guess, learned to, approach the world like that? Because it's like, oh, yes, not saying that like, oh, you're a dick underneath or whatever, and you're just hiding it from everybody. But like, so, some people, it's like, it is harder to kind of just like immediately not get, triggered by something, whether it's, someone's lack of commitment or whatever to the thing that they've promised to do. So anyway, it's a long-winded way of me asking, like, is that like your default mechanism of being like, oh yes, I'm going to, give the benefit of the doubt or what have you, rather than, assume the worst?
Totally. I mean, I think I try to do that. I just think it's a better way to move through the world. Like you'll be less frustrated if you're just trying to look for the good in others in general, and then not dwell on it. I mean, I definitely have my own struggles, not getting upset, or I'm definitely stressed when things go wrong with the records or whatever else, but you just got to kind of find a way to roll with all this stuff, right? And I feel like that, for me personally, it goes back to just kind of, I don't know, I mean, keeping perspective, right? It's like, okay, we're dealing with making a record here. This is not life or death. Like this is still like something that is here to entertain people and give them, a gift for themselves or wherever they supported the Kickstarter. They're involved with, they want to listen to music, and I think, so that's one thing. It's just like remembering, oh, okay, I'm grateful that I get to make art and make a record at all. So it's just like zooming out a little bit to put some space around it and try to be grateful for the fact that I get to do this in the first place, and that helps me kind of just handle the challenges, hopefully with a little more grace. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough path to walk, right? Like there's a lot of uncertainty as an artist and working on all this stuff. But yeah, I am just really grateful for the community of people around me who have showed up for Suzzallo. It's been beautiful and surprising and amazing to see how people have responded to the project already, and just showed up to support me as I made the record and with this Kickstarter. So I'm really looking forward. I mean, we're here down to like where the rubber meets the road, and I'm like getting ready to start shipping stuff out, and we're dealing with these last little like production delays and stuff. But I'm looking forward to it being wrapped up soon. Hopefully mid-May. At this point, that's the current schedule. We'll get everything shipped out, and then and then the album will be out too, and people can stream it, and I'm just excited for that. I want people to be able to hear the music. It's been a 3-year journey for me to get this record made, and definitely the most difficult record I've ever made. Just in terms of, the experience I went through, the subject matter, how hard it was to get it all recorded. And it just took a long time, these things do, but I'm excited that it's ready now. It's going to be out May 2nd.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is that? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
I know. Yeah. You're just something like that. Yeah. 2 weeks or so. Yeah.
Yeah.
This may just be a completely silly question, but why did you feel compelled to have this as a whole new project? Like, I understand that you're not going to put it out under your name because clearly it's a whole different sound, but you could have just called it Waxwing and put out another record from that side of things. What was important for you to kind of be able to delineate the two?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to how like I was saying, like my identity was totally shattered by this experience. So I just didn't relate to anything that I'd done before. And I wanted it to be something that was completely new and a new channel, for me to express this. So that was part of it. I thought about maybe just make it a Waxwing record. But Andrew, who had played bass in that band, moved to London. So he's in the UK. And then Cody, my brother, who also plays in the Blood Brothers, has moved down to LA. So, Rudy and I are here in Seattle, but I didn't want to do like a band over the internet kind of thing. Like, that's not what this was. This needed people in person showing up, and something more. That's really something I wanted, was like to be in the room with people and capture that rawness and that live feeling. Because we did track a lot of the songs live on the floor, with John Goodmanson at Robert Lang. And so, that was important to me. And I wanted some people there with me as I went through the arrangement process on the album too, that we could just be in person, and so that kind of pushed it over the edge to, okay, this is a new project. And then I went through the very difficult, painful process. You probably talked to people about this, of naming a new band.
I can only, especially in the year of our Lord 2025, where you feel like everything has been named and you're like, where do I go from here?
I know. It was a nightmare. Like, now you realize why you see all these band names with like a money sign and like some other strange symbol. And like, it's just like, it was a different landscape from back in the 90s when we were like coming up with band names. But yeah, I'm really happy with Suzzallo. I went to the University of Washington, and it's a library on the campus. And, everybody knows it in Seattle. It's like, Suzzallo Library. It's like a famous landmark. It's really beautiful. It's kind of like the crown jewel of the campus there at the University of Washington. And I have personally spent so many days and hours in that library reading and studying. And, I got my English literature degree from the University of Washington. And so it's actually, it's funny. That's the building where I found the Waxwing logo. The one I have tattooed on my arm.
Sure, that's amazing.
That's where I found it, and I so it kind of the place always held like a special kind of magical, just appeal to me, and so I went back to that spot when I was trying to name Suzzallo, and I just happened to be walking down the hall, and I looked over at this bookcase, or like one of those little reshelving bookcases where they push it around, and they can restock the shelves with the library books, and stenciled on the side it had Suzzallo, and I was like, oh my God, that looks like a band name. I was like, I just thought, oh, it looks really cool. So I took a picture of it, and then decided, okay, that's perfect for this project.
Yeah, that's amazing. Especially when you can tie it back to all these personal things that's layered into it that would clearly never have been like, oh yeah, I'm going to name my new band after a library. Like,
right.
Well, no, it all kind of ties back. That's weirdly enough.
Yeah. And if you notice when you listen to the record, like, there's a lot of dragon imagery throughout, which came to be sort of like the I don't know, the mascot for the band, or the logo image, and kind of what it just is a recurring image for the band. And so that's why we put one on the cover of the record. And this came really from the fact that Keenan was really into dragons, and is one of their favorite things. And they did art as well, and would always draw dragons and paint them, that kind of stuff. So so it has a special connection to the band from that too. And I think, I kind of feel like Suzzallo looks like it could be the name of a dragon too. So that then I was like, oh, this is a perfect band name for this.
Let me be clear. I love evilgreed.net. They are an amazing web store for bands and record labels to be able to sell exclusive pieces of vinyl, to be able to sell long sleeves, short sleeves, hoodies, scarves. The thing about Evil Greed that makes them special is the fact they have a specific point of view. They don't just open the doors wide to every band across the spectrum. They focus on cool, artistic, heavy stuff. And I can guarantee that you listening to this show will find a lot of value and a lot of crossover in the guests that appear on the show and them selling their merch on Evil Greed. It is a great correlation, and I love this company so much. They ship from Berlin, Germany, hits you worldwide, and the shipping rates to us here in the United States are very cheap. Trust me, unlike anything else that's happening in this world as far as tariffs and all of the just, really terrible things that are happening, your merch prices will not be affected from a shipping perspective. So go to evilgreed.net, enjoy what they have to offer, and support an independently run business by punk and hardcore kids. I love it so much, and I know you will as well. So go to evilgreed.net and shop away. Speaking about your child specifically, with the the fact that they were aware of your music and your output, and clearly had an understanding of that. Did they think that what you were doing was, like weird, unconventional? I mean, I know that your whole home is definitely rooted in the arts, so
right.
It's not too weird that Dad is in a band or anything.
Yeah. No, Keenan was super supportive of all of it. I think. Go ahead. I interrupted your question. What were you going to say?
No, that's exactly. No, I was just curious at how they interacted with your music as they started to get exposed to it. And because usually, kids are never going to like their parents' music because they need to find something on their own. But how was their interaction towards it?
It was always really sweet. Keenan was such a special human being, and they identified as queer, trans, and were in the process of transitioning 6 months before they passed. That was all kind of coming out, and so we were kind of adjusting to that as a family. But we knew, from long before that, and it was all good. And I was very proud of them for just kind of living authentically in a world that tries to erase you. As we're seeing even more and more for the trans community and anybody who's different really than a white man. Mm-hmm. So I feel like Keenan was always an artist at heart, and always really inspiring in the way they encouraged me to keep going with my musical dreams, and we're very much into the same kind of music that I like. So we connected on that. And they actually introduced me to Mountain Goats, which John Darnell's thing, which I think is amazing. And I've followed along with that. But that was one of Keenan's favorite bands. And we connected on so many different bands that we loved. Me Without You is another one that we went and saw the shows. That was one of the last shows we saw together. It's a little, it's always kind of bittersweet to have those memories, but I'm grateful. Like you said, our house has always been very arts focused, and my wife April is an amazing painter. You've probably seen her stuff online if you followed me in recently at all, because we work on a lot of projects together. Like she actually painted and helped to design the dragon that's on the cover of the Suzzallo album. Along with Charlie Wagers, who's done a lot of my design work for most of my career, actually. So it's kind of like a little family of artists, and always was. And so that's always a gift if you have that going in your family, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool, especially when that crossover that you can see with your tastes with your child's tastes, and then you can start to be like, okay, here's the commonality. Like, I'm not going to, butt myself into this style of music that you're listening to, because that'll be your own or whatever. I mean, maybe it's just us that are involved in this weirdo scene have so much more cognizance over that, but it's like,
right.
The kids need to have their own space and not just be like, oh you like Oasis too? So do I. So I like that too. It's like, you have to draw a line eventually.
Yeah, generally speaking, if you tell your kids you like something, they're gonna not like it just on principle. But I guess in our case that didn't really happen, because both our kids love all the same music that we do. I think they found other avenues to kind of rebel, but yeah, we all like going to the same shows. So
That's incredible. The concept of touring and playing shows, and that's something that has always been important to you, and you have done it in a lot of different iterations. I mean, especially with your solo stuff, you've been more flexible in regards to the things that you could do, from the living room tours to touring overseas, somewhat easier than a 5-piece band or what have you. Is there a desire? I know you're playing record release shows and everything like that. Do you want to do this for the new band, or are you just keeping it to a more localized thing?
I'm really hopeful at this moment that we can get out on tour with Suzzallo. Like that's my dream. I want to try to make it happen. I know it's more difficult, than ever to like start a new band and get out and get things rolling. But I'm doing my best in the background to lay the groundwork for that, and fingers crossed. Like nothing's for sure yet, but I really hope that we can get out and do some touring later this year. So there are plans in the works for that, and so wish me luck. It's
right.
It's a lot to figure out getting a new band out on the road, but like, I don't know. I mean, people are super excited about the record. It's being received well. I mean, our video came out. It's got like over 33,000 views, and it's like the record's in heavy rotation on KXP here in Seattle, and it's gotten played on a few other stations now too. A few of the first singles we've put out. And there definitely seems to be like some momentum and energy around it. So we'll see how these first shows go. But who knows? I mean, maybe it could quickly surpass what I've done with the solo thing too, and just end up being, even easier to be out on the road with it. That's what I'm hoping, because I really do want to bring the show. This band has a very exciting live show. To me, I feel like it's. That's really the best way to experience Suzzallo. So, and creating that community around that is really important to me. That's part of what my vision for it is, to be able to, create this space where people can have a cathartic release of their grief and loss and pain or trauma, whatever they've been through, and kind of give a voice to that so it can be expressed. And and transmuted into healing. Cause that's really what Suzzallo did for me. And I think this band, more than anything else I've ever done, is more than music in that way. It's there's something bigger happening with it. And so I really want to create a community around it. And we already are seeing that happen, and so, yeah, I hope that can happen. I hope I can bring it out on tour to people and also just have fun, and let some of that energy out, like just enjoy some high energy music together and be uplifted and transported in another, in a way that we understand from going to see punk shows when we were kids. It's like, that is what I really love about music. And I think what will be special about what I can bring with Suzzallo, maybe even in a totally different way than I have been doing with my solo stuff.
Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely. And on that same topic, like, how did you feel like you were once you had the music done and you had that, cathartic process of actually, putting songs to, the appropriate recorded devices? I was going to say tape, but obviously that's, that doesn't exist very much anymore.
Right.
But once you were like, okay, now that we have this thing, like, did you already, I guess, in your mind have the way that you wanted to, kind of like roll it out, like, or how were you going to treat it differently than, just kind of a quote unquote another record? And I don't mean that in a bad way, just in a, similar to approach to what you've done for your solo stuff or whatever. Did you feel like you tried to approach it differently, or were you using a lot of the same muscles to kind of pull everything together to, put this record out?
Yeah, it all felt different in a way. Like I feel like there's just something kind of new happening for me with this band, and it's kind of taking on a life of its own. So there of course are still some of the things that I've done in the past, but it just feels like, I don't know, more supported or something, just by the people around it. And I think that's part of like working with Rudy too, especially because he's really helpful with stuff in a, and I've just been kind of, solo, you're on your own. You're the one in charge of everything, and so when you have more support from people around you that you trust, it just kind of opens up ideas and like the way things are happening. It feels pretty organic right now. And I don't know, I'm just excited. I'm excited that like KXP's been super supportive here in my community. I think their mission and the mission for the band and what I'm trying to do with Suzzallo is totally the same and related. It's like, really, they bring people music and give them a sense of community and healing through music. DJ John Richards is a good friend of mine, and that's his whole approach to life is like trying to help people feel like they're not alone. And it's been really beautiful to watch and like be connected to that. And so, yeah, I guess in that way, this is kind of different. It's more like it's just coming at this from a different space that's maybe more in tune with what I'm really trying to do. And I think I was always trying to do that. Maybe I just wasn't so conscious of it with Waxwing and my solo stuff. As like with this, it just feels like, okay, here's what we're trying to do. And like, there's this primal catharsis and, and also deep healing that comes with that. And I think kind of, Nick Cave talks about this. Are you a Nick Cave fan at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoy him a lot.
Yeah, he's great, right? Like, and his whole approach, and I read his book, oh gosh, what was it called? Love and Carnage or something like that. And, cause he lost 2 children actually. And through that experience was transformed, and very similar to kind of what I've gone through, his music shifted and completely changed. He kept doing it under his name, but I think, a lot of the ways that he's talked about and approached his art has inspired me as well. Cause I think it's beautiful what he's doing as an artist.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And the last few things I wanted to hit on was the, like you said, this feels different than anything that you have done before, participated in. And I know you've tried to articulate some of those feelings, like the, support and the communal aspect. From the actual songwriting process, like, what did you feel was different this time through than the other times?
That's a great question. I feel like when I think about how it was different, it was really unlike anything I've ever been a part of. You know, I wrote almost all the songs, I think, like I mentioned, but it was like a 2-week periods where I was just like locked in my rehearsal space. You know, I didn't do anything else. I just woke up, went to my space, or even slept there, and just like stayed in there for 16 to 18 hours straight, just working on songs. And it was because there was so much more of like a survival kind of necessity component to this. Like, you know, the songs were just kind of pouring out, and I was capturing them pretty quickly. Like, it all happened in a couple bursts like that, you know? And so I feel like the songs, it was really cathartic, and it was like this primal expression, like just trying to find a way to survive and get through this and have a reason to keep living, you know? And I feel like in terms of process, like some of the things were similar, but it was much more music and melody first. Like that all happened because I was going for like a feeling, going for a vibe with the song first, and then I wrote the lyrics afterwards, and like song structures came later. So it was like, okay, there was like this burst of an idea and a melody, and that was really what started it, because it captured a certain feeling, and then all the stories that filled in the lyrics came later. Yeah, and in that way, I mean, I'm really, really satisfied with it creatively, because I feel like when you do it that way, to me, it's a little more pure, because what we're really doing when we listen to music, we're focusing on the melodies. Like, I think that's what's capturing people, you know, because it's like nursery rhymes for adults, you know, like
Sure.
if you have a great melody, like that's kind of what draws you to a song. And of course the idea matters, but the lyrics they used to be so important to me and like the first focus. And I think for myself as an artist, that was backwards, because then you're kind of forcing an idea into a musical shape. Whereas I think it's better for me to like have a musical shape that's there and defined and hopefully really beautiful and capturing a feeling. And then you can add an idea to it and the lyrics, and let that fit into the way the melodies felt. And so I really tried to do it that way, and it felt super organic. And yeah, I'm really happy with the record. You know, I think it's hands down the best thing I've ever made. Like, I just, from a songwriting perspective and also from a technical recording perspective, like the way John Goodmanson captured these songs, he's just so freaking good at what he does. And the mixes make me happy when I hear them. And I love the drum sounds and the bass tones and, you know, and the guitar sounds. I mean, that's really a lot of what defines Suzzallo is this. It's just like this, you know, fuzzed out, like face melting guitar sound.
Sure.
So and John captured that in a way that I feel like is just perfect, you know? So yeah, I'm happy with it. I can't wait for people to hear it.
Yeah, it's fun to be done with a record and not just be, you know, miserable or just, I mean, every band or artist has that feeling where it's like, oh my gosh, like I just ruined the record by doing this thing or whatever. But like, it's nice to sit in a spot where you're like, hey, you know what? I like a lot of it and this is great.
Yeah. And I almost never have felt this way, where I can listen to it now and just be like, man, I'm not picking it apart. You know, because the people involved were all so good at what they did, and John's mixes are just perfect to me. So, you know, there's almost nothing I would change about this record. It's very comforting to me now. You know, as dark as the subject matter is, I feel like it's kind of soothing and comforting too, to listen to the songs, and, you know, and they're just deeply meaningful for me. So I hope other people feel that way, but I honestly don't really give a shit. I didn't make this record for anyone else. You know, I mean, I made this with an uncompromising authenticity to it, like that, where it is just exactly what I had in my mind as a vision for what I wanted to create, what I think is cool, and wanted to contribute musically to the world.
Yep, totally. And to put a button in that, do you think your child would have enjoyed this record?
Absolutely. I think he will love this record. and I think does love it wherever they are. I think there's an eternal connection there. So, yeah, I feel really good about that because there's a lot of energy. It's kind of moving energy, and it has a forward momentum. I guess that's what I would say. And I really think Keenan would have loved that.
Yeah. And you're probably going to see signs of that enjoyment in some really unexpected and weird ways where you're just like, oh, yes, they are talking to me.
Totally. I mean, even one of the songs on the record is the Star String Radio song is actually about like a string of lights, these star-shaped lights that Keenan had ordered a week before they passed. And it was kind of weird because April and Keenan were like shopping for these lights online, and April doesn't remember Keenan ever ordering them or her like completing the order, but they showed up like a couple weeks after Keenan passed, and we ended up taking the lights and hanging them on the deck, and they always kind of flickered weird and off and on at strange times, and we just were like, oh, they're faulty, like they don't quite work right. But then we started to see a pattern of them, flickering at like right when we would talk about Keenan, and it would be like, oh my gosh, it really felt like there was a communication happening there and a sign coming from Keenan through these lights. And so that's what inspired that song and became, the Star String Radio to us.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, Rocky, thank you very much for hanging out and putting this record out there. As painful as it was, it's definitely, that is a true expression of what you've gone through. And I think that it will benefit many people. And even if it doesn't benefit people, it rocks.
Thanks, Ray. Hey, that's what it's all about in the end, right?
Yeah, very true.
We want to rock and have a good time. Like, yeah, thank you so much for saying that. And thanks for having me. It's good to reconnect with you.
There you have it. Thank you very much, Rocky, for sharing all of your thoughts and just the reflection that you were able to paint on this discussion was not only enlightening to me, but hopefully you as a listener. And you need to check out the new Suzzallo record because it is a staggering piece of work. I love it. And I think you will as well. Next week, I have a great chat with my friend Nick Brooks, who is the vocalist from It Dies Today. He also plays in a new band called Frozen Ground. And I've loved It Dies Today for a long time. I had the privilege of spending a lot of time on the road with that band. And we talk a lot about that and everything else in between. So that's what we got next week. Talk about variety. It just makes me happy to be able to invite on a, indie rock emo dude. And then the next week I've got a heavy over the top hardcore band. It's great. Let's keep the independent music alive across all spectrums. So hopefully you're doing well. And until then, please be safe, everybody.